Okay, there are some fundamental differences between editing in Final Cut Pro 10 and Final Cut Pro 7. Before we go any further, you really need to understand how to think like a Final Cut Pro editor. The most basic editing in Final Cut Pro is done in two separate elements, known as the primary storyline and then connected clips. Think of the primary storyline like the A-roll. That's the part that takes up the physical time in the story. In other words, it includes any elements which drive the story forward in time. For instance, voice tracks, sound bites, nat pops, and stand-ups. To add an item to the primary storyline, we append it. The keyboard shortcut for this function is E. I like to think of it as extending the primary line, but unfortunately Apple's already used the name extend for the function of extend edit. Not much we can do about that. But E, remember that. We can also overwrite or insert. Those behave very similar to the way they did in Final Cut Pro 7, but we're just not going to be using those as much. Overwrite will write over existing clips at the timeline at either the point of the playhead or a selected range of the primary storyline. The keyboard shortcut for overwrite is now D. Insert will move a clip to the primary storyline and move everything over after the point of insertion to the right. The keyboard shortcut for insert is now W. To B-roll the story, we're going to use something called connected clips. This function connects your B-roll clips to the clips in the primary storyline. The keyword for connecting a clip is Q. Connected video and audio or video-only tracks will appear above the storyline. Connected audio-only tracks will appear as a green waveform below the primary storyline. All connected clips will have a line showing the point at which they are connected to the primary storyline. One of the big advantages of the connected clips is that you can now rearrange elements on the primary storyline and the connected clips move right along with it. Okay, we talked about the skimmer a little earlier. Basically, Final Cut Pro senses wherever you place your mouse, and as you move the mouse around, the clip that you hover over will become active in the viewer. Apple calls this a skimmer. If you hit play, the clip will play from wherever the skimmer is, opposed to wherever the playhead is. The skimmer will also override the playhead for marking in and out points, as well as for connecting clips. This takes a little getting used to, but it's actually pretty convenient once you do get used to it. It's also important to understand the concept of the magnetic timeline. I think of it more as squishy timelines. The Final Cut Pro 10 adapts the timeline according to the way it thinks that you would want to edit. If you connect a clip into the range selection that exceeds the space between the two other connected clips, it's going to leave the original clips intact and put the new connected clip higher up on the timeline. Not exactly like a new video track, but kind of similar. And if you trim any of the audio clips so that they all fit, the magnetic timeline will then drop that clip down automatically into the original connected clips. This isn't quite as crazy as I thought it would first be, but it is possible to become a little disorganized, so you need to be careful. Audio and video tracks are now connected unless you separate them. There are multiple ways to separate audio from video. Two important ones to understand right now are expanding and detaching. Expanding audio or video will introduce a visible distinction between the video and audio of the clip, but they remain connected. Detaching audio will disconnect the audio tracks from the video and move them to the connected audio clip. The connected audio clip is now completely independent of the original video clip. Some of our often used functions from Final Cut Pro 7 are not currently available in Final Cut Pro 10. Two of the main functions that are missing are normalization and the ability to apply effects to multiple selected clips at once. We do have usable workarounds. In some cases, the alternatives may even prove better. First, you need to understand normalization. Normalizing the clip would simply raise or lower the volume of the entire audio waveform, placing the highest peak at the level you select, either -12 or -30 decibels. The alternative to this is an effect called compression. Unlike normalization, compression does not affect every cycle of a waveform in the same way. The lowest peaks in the waveform will be increased to a greater degree than the highest peaks. This will even out the waveform, making it more uniform throughout the entire clip. In some cases, this should work better than normalization. For instance, if a person coughs during an interview, it won't lower the rest of the soundbite to compensate for that one loud peak. To apply effects or adjust parameters on multiple clips in the same time, we can create compound clips. A group of clips can be converted to a compound clip by using the keyboard shortcut Option G. If you use nested sequences in Final Cut Pro 7, this is very similar. Compound clips will behave essentially like regular clips when they're in the timeline. This can be very useful when trying to change multiple clips in the same way, at the same time. For example, we could detach the audio from the primary storyline and group all of those audio clips as a compound clip. Then we could add effects such as compression, or we could adjust the pan to the entire compound clip. The same can be done when applying broadcast safe filter for all the video clips in the story. Compound clips can also be opened up separately in the timeline to make adjustments to the individual clips within the compound clip. To open a compound clip, all you need to do is double-click it in the timeline.